Hi, I'm Tammy. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hopefully you have subscribed to my channel. If not, go ahead and click that button right down there to subscribe. Then you'll be notified every time I post a new video. So hopefully you've had some time to play with your Xtool M1. You're feeling more comfortable with it. And now you've decided that you have found the perfect file on Etsy and you must create it. There are tons of SVG files on Etsy, as well as there are other free sites with SVG files. I'll post a couple of them for you down in the comments. But when you bring an Etsy file in, every file can vary. So we're going to go ahead and convert an SVG file to a Xtool Creative Space file today. Okay, so let's get to work. Okay, now we're over here in Xtool Creative Space. And we're going to import a SVG file. I do need to import that as an image. I can do it from up here or over here on the left. And I'm going to bring in the pumpkin spice stud set. This is a little set of stud earrings. As you can tell, these are very small. So I'm going to need to make this a little bit bigger so I can work on it. And I'm going to make a note of the file up here in the top, the width and the height of it, so I can return it to this size. I also want to make sure this is locked so I don't skew the proportion of this. Okay, so this pretty much looks like it's all set up to score. If I'm in doubt, a lot of times I'll go ahead and hit process, but I do need to go ahead and connect to my machine. It looks like I'm already connected. We'll just refresh it to make sure we're good. And I'm going to do 2.8 thickness. I have to set this before I can hit process just to get a visual of exactly what's going to cut. And it's usually the same of what you see on your screen, but if you have a super detailed project, I find it a little bit easier to do this. Okay, so I'm going to hit process. And then I can see exactly what's going to cut. This way I can tell what's turned off, what's turned on, what's set up. So these are all set up in orange, which means it's going to just score all of these, which is not what I want it to do. Let's go ahead and cancel and go back. And we're going to, we do want it to score all the inside. So let's just go ahead and select all of these items to start off with. And we're going to hit score, but we don't necessarily know what power, speed, and how many passes we want. So a good reference point for that is to go over to the M1 material setting spreadsheet to help you with this. Now, this is a spreadsheet you can download, you can update and keep it for your own reference, but this is at least a good starting point for you. Okay, I have a 10-watt machine, so I know we're good there because this is for the 10-watt machine. I'm using basswood and I'm using 3mm. So you'll see that we have a cut option, a vector option, and a raster option. So what do I want? Do I want raster or do I want vector? Well, the short answer for this is vector. Raster is pixel-based while vector is path-based. And we want a path-based engraving for this, so we're going to use vector. If you want to understand vector and raster a little bit more, you can go to the Xtool Academy, which has a great section that gets into the details of this and explains to you what happens when you make a object smaller or bigger, using raster versus using vector, and more details like that. Okay, but we're going to go ahead and use vector, and the headings on this or up above is power, speed, and how many passes. And so we have 50, 35, and 1. So we'll go ahead and start with that, make sure we're happy with it. We'll go ahead and do 50, 35, and 1. Okay, so the only other thing I want to do on this file to make this simple is I'm just going to cut out the outside of it. Okay, everything else can be scoring, and we just need to cut the outside. So we're going to go ahead and highlight the outside edge. I like to do this for all the items at once, if possible. It does kind of group them together when you're highlighting them, so it can make it a little tricky. So you might have to do just a few at a time. But let's go ahead and see how we do this. So I'm going to hit the Control key after the first one to continue selecting. Okay, and you'll see I'm just clicking on the very outside edge of this. And now this is selected, so it makes it hard for me to go select that item. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep going, and I'll have to probably come back to that one item. Sometimes I can get it and sometimes I just can't. It just isn't worth me trying to fumble with it. If somebody knows an easier way, please let me know. I'm still new learning all this and self-teaching myself, just like you all probably are. So we'll just help each other out. Okay, so we've got quite a bit of it there. We'll go ahead and switch to cut and go pick up what we have for the rest of them later on. I know from using this machine quite a bit so far that I want 100 power, and I'm going to do a speed of 5 with 1 pass. I do highly recommend you test any wood when you get it. And if you don't stick with that same brand, that you always test it before you do a big project. You don't want to ruin a bunch of wood at once if you can save yourself from doing that. Okay, so you'll see here, we didn't pick up 3 of these, so we'll go back and do those as well right now. So we're going to do this one. Hold down the control key, grab this one, and this last one. Okay, so now we'll go back to cut, 100, 5, and 1. Okay, so now we kind of want to see how this is going to look when we go to process it. Let's go ahead and make sure we have everything turned on. We see both sets of lines, and this is what we want to see. So the outside blue or purple line, I can't tell exactly what color that is, we will cut, and all of the orange lines we will score, which is exactly what we want to do. Okay, but it's a little big, so let's go ahead and cancel out, and we're going to get this back down to the size it was originally. And instead of me trying to manipulate it with the arrows, I'm just going to go ahead and go up here and type in the original size, which was 37.2 and 91.7. Now I find if I'm trying to move something and it's not moving correctly with my pointer, that I usually will come up here into the size or the position and modify these to make it a smaller change than what I can do with the pointer. Okay, so I can go ahead and put this up in the corner, and I am going to go ahead and go connect to my machine, and I will show you this while we're processing it. So I'm going to hit process, and we will hit start. And now we're over here with the machine. We're going to go ahead and hit process. And if I'm concerned about the spacing, I can go ahead and frame it, but I know it's a full sheet, so I'm not concerned about it. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit the start button up here. Okay, when it tells me to go ahead and hit the button, I will go ahead and hit the button on the front of the machine. Okay, now it's scoring each piece. Once the scoring is complete, it will cut. You want to make sure to stay by your machine for all functions. I'll be right back. Okay, now we are cutting out each piece. Again, don't leave your machine while it's operational for safety reasons. When it's done, it might drop to the bottom, which is totally fine. It just saves you from removing it. And that way you also know you're cutting through. Sometimes you can see the laser reflecting off the bottom of the machine, and that's not an issue either. Some people do like to put down aluminum. Just be sure to put it shiny side down if you use it. I do find that it intensifies my laser a little bit, so I choose not to use it. Okay, just a couple more to go. One of the nice features of the M1 is that it's in an enclosed case, so you don't have to be concerned about wearing eye safety while it's in operation.
as it's all contained with the lid closed. You do have a little noise when it's running. I just have recorded this separately from the machine. Okay, and now it is finished cutting. I'm just going to remove each of these pieces and set them aside. And it's all done. We just have to remove each piece.
And see, we are now complete. I do want to be sure to save this file now that I've set it up. I'm going to do save as. And now it will save it as an XCS file, which is the extension for the Xtool Creative Space. And I'm going to go ahead and put pumpkin spice. Can't type. And hit save. So it'll all be ready next time I want to come and cut it again. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you'd like to be notified when I put these videos up. Let me know if you have any questions, and please feel free to share any tips that you have for me as well. Have a wonderful day.